Deciding to study abroad in 2026 is extremely confusing. With the West imposing restrictions on international students and with many additional smaller countries trying to woo international students, it's more confusing than ever if you're thinking of studying abroad in 2026 or 2027. That's why I've come up with a list of the top 10 countries I think you should consider to study abroad in. Having said that, my own video covers a lot of extensive research and detail. I have looked at multiple factors such as the cost of education, the job opportunities, the immigration policies, the openness to international education, the number and type of universities and program options, as well as the academic quality of universities in that particular country. So, with that said, here's a list of the top 10 countries to study abroad in 2026. And before we get into the list, do watch this video till the end because there are many countries that you would not think are a part of this video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Amya. I make study abroad content to help students make better study abroad decisions. If you're on this channel for the first time, do subscribe. It will be a win-win for the both of us. Now, let's get into the list. So at number 10, we have the UK. Now, of late, the UK has received a lot of bad press. The government has decided to reduce the post-study work visa duration from 24 months to 18 months. International students have been finding it slightly more challenging to get jobs, and the country has reported to go through a period of inflation. Now, even with all these downsides, I still think that the UK does deserve a place in the top 10 countries, and I'll explain exactly why. The first reason is the quality of the academic institutions. The UK still has many universities ranked in the top 50 and top 100 universities of the world. If you end up going to a university like Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College London, LSE or UCL, you're going to get a job in the UK. And if we're talking about the difficulty of getting jobs, let's be honest, no matter which country you go to in 2026, even whether you stay in India, getting a job is going to be difficult. Unemployment rates have been increasing world over since the last 3 or 4 years. So that is not something that we should unfairly punish the UK for. Another reason why the UK does deserve in the top 10 is because it has 3-year undergraduate programs and only 1-year master's programs. So this means that you spend less time studying compared to some of the other countries such as the US on this list, and you enter the workforce sooner, which leads to a higher ROI on your education. And the final reason why the UK does deserve a spot in the top 10 is because of the fact that it's an English-speaking country. You don't need to learn a new language. There are a lot of Indian immigrants, Asian immigrants in the UK who have succeeded in the past. And because of that success, you're more likely to get a job. Why? Because employers in the UK are used to hiring international students, those who can speak English. Right. Now let's move on to number 9. At number 9 on this list, we have the United States of America. With everything going on with Donald Trump and the H-1B visa, you all are probably thinking why I've even kept this country in the top 10 list. And I think there are 3 very clear advantages why the US does deserve a spot in the top 10. So the first reason is the quality of the educational institutes and the variety of them all. The US has the most number of universities of any country in the world. I think at last count it was more than 4,000. And many of these universities are ranked in the top 100. In fact, the USA has the most number of universities which are ranked in the top 100. And education from a top American university is recognized the world over. So even if you want to switch from the United States to some other country in the future, chances are the university is going to be recognized and you shouldn't have too much of a difficulty to find a job in a different country. The second reason why I've still kept the United States on the list is because of the size and the quality of jobs. Please understand that the US economy is the largest in the world, and it's larger than the next 3 economies combined. And if you're thinking of areas such as tech, finance or AI, US is the place to go because that's where all the innovation is happening and that's where the largest companies are actually headquartered. In fact, salaries in the United States, both for undergrad and master students, are anywhere between 30% to 50% higher than for other Western countries. And the third reason why the US still deserves a spot on this list is because Donald Trump is not going to be president forever. He is only going to be president till 2029. Now, if you're a student who's in high school watching this and planning to go abroad to the US for your undergrad, you should know that by the time you graduate, Donald Trump won't even be president. And even if you're going for your master's, by the time you require an H-1B, he's no longer president. Now, your career is going to span the next 30 years. So you should not automatically delete the United States from your list or your consideration list just because he's going to be president for the next 3 years. Now, the next country on this list, number 8, we have Netherlands, the first European country. Netherlands is one of those countries which on paper is not English speaking, but where more than 90% of the population actually does speak English. So it's a great deal because it means that if you go to the Netherlands, you can probably secure an internship or a job even without learning the Dutch language, although learning any local language is always preferred. If you want to go to Netherlands, then the top programs to study are in tech, engineering and business. The country has some of the world's best institutions for these. You can take a look at universities such as Erasmus University, the University of Amsterdam. You can look at Utrecht University as well as TU Delft, which is a very popular option with Indian students. In the Netherlands, once you graduate, you get a 1-year post-study work visa. When you're on this 1-year post-study work visa, it's actually called as a job orientation visa, which means that you don't even actually have to have a job to secure this visa. So you can actually be in the Netherlands completely unemployed or working part-time and still stay there. So this offers you much more respite than some other countries like the US, which require you to get a job within 90 days of graduation to get your visa, your working visa or your OPT. The only downside that I see with the Netherlands is its size. The economy is 1/3 the size of India, which means that there are going to be relatively fewer number of jobs. The other downside I see with the Netherlands is the fact that the cost of education is slightly higher than some of the other European countries that I have mentioned on this list. So at number 7, we have Sweden, another European country. Now, Sweden has recently become popular amongst international students, especially Indian students in areas such as tech, renewable energy, as well as engineering and finance. Generally, we don't think of Sweden as an economic powerhouse, but let me remind everyone watching this video that Sweden is home to some of the world's largest companies. H&M, IKEA, Spotify, Ericsson, Skype, all of these companies are founded and headquartered in Sweden. So you can study at a top ranked university such as KTH or Uppsala and get jobs in one of these companies. In addition to all of this, Sweden offers one of the highest safety levels and highest standards of living of any countries in the world. And just like Netherlands, Sweden also offers a 1-year job seeking visa. The only difference or the only reason why I rate Sweden slightly higher than Netherlands is because of the cost of education. In Netherlands, every year would cost you somewhere between 15 to 20 lakh rupees, but in Sweden, the average cost of education is only 12 lakh rupees, with some universities charging as less as 7.5 lakhs. Now, the next country on this list at number 6 we have is Singapore, the first Asian country. So Singapore is tiny. Singapore is smaller than Mumbai in size, but it's an economic powerhouse. It's a great destination to go to if you want to study something like finance, computer science, or AI. And it has 2 of the world's top ranked universities, NUS and NTU, both which are ranked in the top 20 universities of the world. Now, education in Singapore is slightly more expensive than some of the other countries we've seen so far. The average cost of education per year in Singapore, whether you're going for undergrad or postgrad, is between 30 to 50 lakh rupees. But did you know that the Singaporean government offers something called as a tuition fee waiver scheme to international students, wherein 80% of the students, international students who get admissions to one of the 13 autonomous institutes in Singapore, get up to a 50% discount on their tuition fee, which makes education in Singapore pretty affordable. In addition to all of this, you can also get a 1 or a 2-year working visa once you graduated, and that can be continuously renewed as long as you have a work contract. Singapore is also probably one of the most safest countries in the world. I believe it ranks in the top 10. It's also culturally more similar to India and has geographical proximity to India. So with all these advantages, why am I ranking Singapore only 6th? Why is it not higher on my list? And again, I think that there are a few reasons for this. So the first reason is that there are very few universities in Singapore. Remember how I said that there are only 13 autonomous institutes where you can get the tuition fee waiver program? Out of these 13 universities, there are only 4 or 5 universities which are even ranked in the top 1,000 universities of the world. And getting into those universities is very, very difficult. So you cannot apply only to Singaporean universities. If you're thinking of applying to Singapore, you'll have to supplement it with 1 or 2 other countries. The second reason is that because there has been a recent surge in the number of international students coming to Singapore, it has progressively become more difficult to get a Singaporean PR. And the rules aren't very transparent. And then the third reason is the tuition fee waiver program itself. Remember how I told you all that the government subsidizes education by offering up to a 50% discount? There's a catch. So let's say the government offers you the tuition fee waiver scheme. Well, then to avail that scheme, you need to sign a bond. In that bond, there is a clause which requires you to work in Singapore for 3 years after you graduate. Now, this in and of itself is not a problem, but the issue is that if you end up not getting a job, then you have to repay the entire amount of the tuition fee waiver grant along with interest. The next country on this list at number 5 we have is France, another European country. France has set an ambitious target to increase the number of international students to 5 lakh by the year 2030, but it's making very good progress. In fact, in the last 1 year itself, the number of Indian students going to France has increased by 17%. And there are a lot of reasons for this. First of all, the tuition fee is affordable. On average, any French university for a master's program or for an undergraduate program would cost you anywhere between 7 to 15 lakh rupees per year, which is more affordable than many of the other countries on this list. The second reason is the quality of educational institutions. France has a system of grand écoles. If you get an admit from any of the grand écoles, getting a job is going to be pretty easy in France. The third reason is the number of scholarships that are available. There are several scholarships available to Indian students. Indian students can go to the Campus France website and check out what these scholarships are. But the two most popular scholarships are the Eiffel Scholarship and the Charpak Scholarship. Over and above all of this, once you graduate, you can get a 1-year job seeking visa, which can be extended by another year. So you get a 2-year job seeking visa. And the moment you get a job, you can convert this into a work visa, which after a few years, you can convert to a PR. So with all these advantages, France is ranked number 5 on this list, and it's a great place to go to, especially if you want to study engineering, specifically mechanical or aeronautical engineering, or if you want to study something like luxury brand management or business. So at number 4, we have Ireland. Now, Ireland has one of the highest average incomes in the world. I think it's something like 95 lakh rupees. It's even higher than the United States. And it's a great place to go to if you want to study something in pharmaceutical sciences or computer science, because there are many companies from these two fields that have their European Union headquarters based out in Ireland. So for example, if you're taking a look at tech, companies such as Google and Apple actually have their EU headquarters in Ireland, and a lot of the EU product development actually happens from the Irish offices. So you can get into one of the universities in Ireland and take up a job in one of these companies. The other reason why Ireland is number 4 on the list is while it does have great universities, these universities are nowhere near as selective as universities in the UK or in the United States or even in countries like Germany. So for all these reasons, Ireland deserves a spot in the top 5, specifically at number 4. The only reason I have not ranked Ireland higher than number 4 is because there are two issues that Irish students are facing. One is the high cost of living, and secondly is the lack of accommodation. Students have been finding it difficult to get accommodation both while they're studying and afterwards in Ireland. So now we're into the top 3. The third country on this list is Japan. Now, this probably sounds like a very contrarian option. Japan doesn't make it to the consideration list of most students, but hear me out. Let me explain why I've kept Japan as number 3. On one hand, you have the 5th largest economy in the world, the Japanese economy, with companies such as Honda, Toyota, and Mitsubishi that recruit thousands of students every year. And on the other hand, in Japan, you have an aging population. The average age of Japan today is 50, and the birth rate is fast plummeting, which means that by 2040, Japan is going to be short of 11 million skilled workers. And therefore, the Japanese government has been aggressively trying to woo international students, specifically Indian students. India has been listed as a priority country for immigration by the Japanese government. This is one of the main reasons why I'm suggesting that Japan would be number 3 on this list. And if you thought it's only about immigration, then think again. There are many Japanese universities that are very high ranked. So there are 4 Japanese universities which are ranked in the top 100, 9 Japanese universities which are ranked in the top 200. And these universities, unlike their Western counterparts, also help students get placed. Those of you all who have graduated from an Indian institution know that you have a placement cell in your college that helps you actively get placed at different companies. This is not a concept in the West. If you go to the West, you need to fight for a job yourself. But this is not so with Japan. In Japan, you have a placement season, which is roughly 3 to 4 months in length. In those 3 to 4 months, the university does everything that it can to connect you to the right people and the right companies, and they help you get jobs. Sometimes they will even invite companies on campus to interview you. Now, apart from all of this, the Japanese government is also providing scholarships to Indian students such as the MEXT and JASO scholarship, which not only covers your entire cost of tuition as well as living, they also pay for a one-way flight ticket to Japan. And if you don't get this scholarship, you need not worry, because studying at a top-ranked Japanese university is pretty affordable. The average cost of education per year is anywhere between 3 to 5 lakh rupees. That is lesser than many private Indian universities. Once you graduate from a Japanese university, you can apply for a work visa, and the duration of this work visa depends upon your job contract. So let's say your contract lasts for 5 years, you would get a visa for 5 years. If it lasts for 3 years, then you would get the visa for 3 years. Now, with all these advantages, Japan is ranked number 3, not number 2, not number 1. Why is that? Because the application process to Japanese universities is slightly more complicated than some of the other countries on this list. Whereas you require the standard documents such as a statement of purpose or essays, letters of recommendations, resumes, English language test scores in Japan. Over and above this, you might have to take some additional exams or take additional interviews to get an admit from Japanese universities. In fact, if you're going to study a master's, many times you will have to submit a master's thesis plan to the university. You might need to contact a professor who's willing to advise you for your master's, get a response from them, and then apply to Japanese universities. So this makes the process slightly more complex, slightly more tedious, which is why it is ranked as number 3. However, if Japan takes steps, or if Japanese universities take steps to simplify the process, Japan could probably earn the number 1 or number 2 spot. Now at number 2, we have South Korea, another country which is in many regards similar to Japan. Just like Japan, it is a non-English speaking country. However, it has a large English speaking population. Just like Japan, it's highly industrialized, very safe, and has high income levels. It is home to some of the world's largest companies such as Hyundai, LG, as well as Samsung. And just like Japan, it too has an aging population. So very similar to Japan in many regards, again has top ranked universities such as Postech, KAIST, Yonsei University, and Seoul National University, all which are ranked in the top 200 universities of the world. But where it edges out Japan is in terms of the application process. Remember how I said that the Japanese application process is slightly complex? That is not so with Korean universities. So the application process to Korean universities is pretty much similar to the application process to other Western countries such as the UK, the United States, or Ireland. At number 1, at the top of the list, we have Germany, and this should not come as a surprise. Public universities in Germany hardly charge any tuition fee to international students. They are well known for their academic rigor. You have many universities, especially from the TU9, such as KIT, Technical University of Munich, and RWTH Aachen, which are ranked in the top 100 universities of the world. A large proportion of the German population, though they can't speak English fluently, is certainly proficient with German, especially if you go to large cities like Berlin and Frankfurt. And over and above all of this, Germany is the European Union's largest economy, which means that getting jobs in Germany could be relatively easier than getting jobs in some of the other countries that are located in Europe. Now, if you are applying to German universities, you just need to be careful about 2 things. The first thing is the academic requirement of German universities. German universities are extremely stringent about the academic requirement. If a university mentions that they need a GPA of at least 9 on 10 in college for you to get an admit for your master's, they mean it. If you have even an 8.9, they're not going to give you an admit. And this is one of the potential downsides of Germany, because most of the other countries that we've seen on this list do a holistic application review. And if you don't meet one of their criteria, they might at least give you a conditional offer. The second thing that you need to be careful about if you're applying to a German university is the additional APS process. What happened in the last 2 or 3 years is that far too many international students went to Germany, and once they landed in Germany, the German government realized that many of these students have fake degree certificates. So they institutionalized a process called as APS, wherein before you apply to German universities, you need to authenticate that the college that you've graduated from is not fake. It's a legitimate college which is recognized by your home government. And this APS process, while the German embassy says takes only 1 or 2 months, in practice takes 5 or 6 months. So the application process for Germany is longer than many of the countries that we've discussed today on this list. So with that, we're done with the list of the top 10 countries that you should consider if you want to study abroad in 2026. Let me know whether you agree with my ranking or not. And if you want me to do a deeper dive on any one of these countries, please let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.